Welcome, everybody. I'm Stacey Widlitz, founder and president of SW Retail Advisor and co-founder of Deal Make Hers. And I'm thrilled to be here today to have a chat with Gail Tifford, Chief Brand Officer of WW, formerly Weight Watchers. Gail, I'd love for you just to kind of tell us a little bit about your background and specifically your role at WW.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you all so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today. And so I'm the Chief Brand Officer at WW. I have been here a little over 2 years after spending 21 years at Unilever. So in my role at WW, I oversee everything from the global brand positioning to creative content, e-commerce, consumer products, and member and growth marketing.
Great. So you were instrumental in about 2 years ago. There was a big change, the role of rebranding from what was formerly Weight Watchers to WW. Can you talk a little bit about that transition? It was seen as like a huge risk then, and obviously turned out to be quite successful. So would love to hear a little bit about that thought process.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think externally people maybe thought it was riskier than we did because
Right.
we had really been listening to our community, and it was something that just felt so natural. And we knew that that our brand was iconic and really rooted in heritage, but we knew that we had to evolve in order to stay relevant. And people weren't just talking about weight, and in fact, our community, it was really all about a holistic approach to wellness. So of course, we needed to start with our visual identity and going from Weight Watchers to WW, and all of that entailed, which was just a massive undertaking from logo to color palette. I mean, in the US, I think we had 14 different logos alone.
Wow.
So it was really a massive undertaking from website to app to marketing materials in 12 countries around the world. But the second thing, we had created our vision and our mission, which is all around inspiring healthy habits for real life, for people, for families, for communities, for the world. And we created a purpose filter, and everything that we did, and still to this day, we put through our purpose filter. And what was interesting is that there were certain parts of the business that when we put them through that purpose filter, it really identified where there was a lot of work for us to do. So just one example, we have a small consumer products business, but when we put it through the purpose filter, we actually saw that a lot of those products, the foods, had artificials in them. And we said, well, this is actually not really in line with what we're trying to do. So within 8 months, we had relaunched our entire consumer products business to take out artificial colors, preservatives, ingredients. So it was really a massive undertaking. And now we're really excited about the path forward. There's still work to do, but we are definitely on the right track.
It's interesting. So you kind of took a holistic approach to wellness rather than just focusing on weight and the scale. And in doing so, you built a different kind of community. And of course, the topic today is a digital community. Yeah. So I'm curious for brands who struggle with how to build a community, overnight. It's like, okay, you're emerging a brand. How do you get that personal connection? Can you do that without a purpose? Can you talk a little bit about that, of how to start out building a community?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was very fortunate to come to a brand that had been building community since 1957, and that was really what this was about. And it's interesting because I think, back in the day when we would talk about community, it was very much your neighbor, right? Your community was defined by sort of your physical location. And when the world started to change and really move to a digital world, this company, I think, saw that happening, and in their app, we had created a community, a platform for people to come together, and that's called Connect. Mm-hmm. And so, look, I think the community is definitely a buzzword out there. I think when you are creating a community, it's now about coming together where people have shared beliefs about what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish. And for us, that's people who are trying to transform their lives and transform the lives of other people. So that's sort of our rallying cry, so that people can be the best that they can be. And what's interesting is that with the shift to digital, these are people who, they look very different. There are men, there are women. We have, all different types of ethnicities, all different types of backgrounds, but people share the same core belief that they think they can really make their lives better. And so it's interesting when you think about the role of community now. What is that one or two things that really rallies your consumers? It's hard to fake that. And so when I think about linking that to purpose, I like to think actually we are one of the very first purpose-driven brands. Mm-hmm. And the brand is literally changing lives, millions of lives every year. I think that if you are going to create that community, having that sense of purpose is really, really important. But I also think it's a business imperative. When you look at the younger generations, I mean, before they even buy a product, they're actually going online to look at what their impact is. And I think
in there, yeah.
Totally. And so it goes from, we've moved from marketing to consumers to mattering to people. Mm-hmm. And it's not enough just to, in my mind, transform the lives or help the lives of the people buying your product. But I believe that consumers are also looking for what's the greater impact that you're looking to have on society.
Mm-hmm. And everybody having a common goal creates that community. And it's very interesting because so many brands feel the need to just hire influencers and say, hey, if we just get the word out, it'll automatically happen, and it's not authentic. But you go a bit of a different direction and use advocates. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. And I think, first of all, our product, our brand is a commitment. It's a lifestyle. So it's not like, oh, you go use shampoo and you say, use this, right? Which, by the way, I think people are really starting to see through that. So I think, what we've seen is that the people who come into our brand and commit to it, it does change their lives. And so they're able to speak to it authentically, which I think is so important, because if they're not on the program, people know that. It's so easy now to say, well, is she doing this just, is she hawking product?
Right.
Or is it actually changing her life? And
or does she just look that good normally? Yeah.
Exactly. And, it's just, and people see through it. And I think it's really dangerous. So we definitely call them advocates, because when your life has been changed, you want to go and change other people's lives. And that truth kind of comes through. So I think it's really important. Look, it's okay to hire people to talk about your product and build awareness, but I would be pretty sure that they actually love your product and it's really making a difference to them.
Right. And they have to have that authentic connection.
Yeah. And we've gotten into conversations with people about the product, who they want to come on board and they want to speak to it. And when the first question is about money, we're like, we know this isn't actually the right thing.
When you lead with the dollar signs, that's not the authentic person
exactly
you're looking for. So much has happened in the past few months, obviously with COVID and shutdown, and you guys were able to take a business that was 25% in person and just flip it on its head in 6 days with something like a 97% positive rating. Can you talk about what that process was like? Because I think your brand did it so quickly and so seamlessly, and people want to hear, what they should be doing.
Yeah. So, I think first and foremost, and this goes back to, your purpose, and ours about inspiring healthy habits for real life. Our first concern when COVID hit was, oh my God, we've got to make sure that our employees and our members are safe. And as you mentioned, a big part of our business was in real life workshops, people going to these workshops day in and day out. And so our first thought was protecting our people. And obviously there are financial ramifications that come with it, but we felt like it was really important to do the right thing. And so we shut down all of our studios around the world. And at that point, though, we said, well, wait a minute, we have millions of people who rely on us for this connection, for this check-in, every week. So what we did was we, as I mentioned, we had our Connect platform, which I say besides Disney is the second most positive place on earth, where we had our community. So we had this platform. And what we did was within 6 days, we had created virtual workshops for all of our members who had been going to the in real life experiences. And so, I mean, this was a massive undertaking. We had to train thousands of coaches because, when you're having a real life experience, it's very different to doing this and being in a, technology.
Right. It's not just about getting the consumer on board. It's about teaching people how to connect digitally. That's a whole different ballgame, especially when you're talking about something so personal as a one-on-one health consultation, really.
Exactly. So we had there was sort of three parts to it. One was getting the technology kind of up and running. And I think the really important decision we made there was we weren't going to try and invent it on our own. So we had the platform, but we didn't have the ability to do video conference. So we partnered with Zoom, and that was really, because I think a lot of tendency is we have to create it here. We have to, if it's
right.
not,
it has to be
here,
ours. It has to be. We have to own it, and sometimes
exactly.
it's better just to go for it and be quick.
Exactly. So we made the decision that it was better to be quick, and speed was way more important than it being perfect. So that was sort of the technology, the tech teams, the engineering teams. I mean, they were all maniacally focused on this. The second thing was training our coaches. To your point, like, how do you go from being in real life to now being able to manage hundreds of people on a Zoom call? And then the third piece was our members. I mean, there were some members who had never even been on Zoom before. So how, you get that up and running. So that meant working with our member marketing team and our, ECRM team. And how do we explain to people, our customer service team, so that when they got phone calls, this isn't working. So I think if I think about kind of my career, it's probably one of the things I'm the most proud of, working with this team, that they just care so much about the business and care so much about the members.
And that goes back to being everybody having a common purpose and connection, because so many people that work for the company have a personal connection with WW and their background. So it makes everybody, I guess, want to chase the same goal in the best way possible. And, it was interesting. So we talked a little bit about something you did is open up to the community to allow people to attend free town halls. And something about the organization that's always struck me is it's always about doing the right thing as a part of creating that community. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things you did?
Yeah. So what we had done, I mean, interestingly enough, we had launched a 9-city tour with Oprah. And that went from January to March. And it was called Oprah's Your Life in Focus 2020 Vision.
We've all seen those pep rallies. They're amazing.
It was really amazing. And then the last one, we were in Denver the first week of March. That was the last one. I mean, thank God.
Yeah.
And we got home, and then COVID hit. And so what we were trying to figure out is, how do we take what we had done in real life experiences? I mean, there were 16,000 people in these arenas, and how do we bring it, online in the virtual world? And at that point, we also made the decision, whereas during the tour we had charged tickets, what we decided is, gosh, I mean, looking at what was happening, now was the time to actually open this up to everybody, because we're all looking for ways to keep ourselves sane, to keep ourselves active, to keep ourselves eating properly. And so we opened it up to the public. We had hundreds of thousands of people join us. It was 4 Saturdays in a row. And it was pretty amazing, the amount of people from all over the world. You can still find the videos on YouTube. But that was again, a big decision that we said, what's the right thing to do? We could have sold tickets really easily. But that's at the core, like that's just not look, I feel really grateful to work for a company like that and to have a CEO who, keeps us on that path. And so I know it's not the easy thing, but what I will say, and I'm a big believer in karma, is that, when you do the right thing, it really comes back to you.
And as a public company, not all public companies have, I guess, the the nerve to actually do the right thing rather than go for the bottom line. It's interesting. So you and I talked a little bit about lessons learned during this time and thinking about the future of an organization, because we've all been forced to just completely pivot and it's been an immense change for everyone. So I guess, how do you think about kind of like blowing up the norms of hiring, of operating? Is it okay to just completely change your thinking about the future and how do you do that in such a quickly manner?
You know what? I think you have to. I think it is a business mandate. I truly believe the world has changed forever. And I think consumers have changed forever. And so I actually think you do have to rethink everything that you're doing. And in fact, we were just having a conversation a few weeks ago about a new product that we're going to be launching. And, we had been sort of on one path, and then we said, well, wait a minute. What if we blow this up and think about it digital first? Now, for a lot of folks in the audience, they might be digital first companies. We had our legacy part of our company, which is beautiful, but it's not going to get us to where we need to be. And so constantly questioning ourselves in terms of, in a digital first world, in a post-COVID world, and really every decision we make, asking those questions. Are we doing this because it's the way we always did it? Or is this the way that we think we should do it? And just by asking those questions and prompts, we've actually been able to rethink a lot of the things that we're doing. And look, during COVID, and I mean, we're still during COVID, we really said, we're going to try some things. We're going to have a test and learn mentality. And so, within our app, we tried things. We thought about, what is the need of the member right now? And how can we create things? And you know what? Maybe we'll do some great things and maybe we'll do some not so great things. But as long as we're all holding hands and learning together, I mean, we had some fun things to do. We piloted live cooking classes in our app. We'd never done that before. We piloted putting different types of content experiences in the app. And I think what we learned is that our members are hungry for that. And even now more than ever, hungrier for that connection to the community that they're part of.
And I love that you took the risk of changing your advertising from traditional to user generated, which was amazing, and just goes toward the ethos of community and making this so personal.
Well, that's why I have a lot more gray hairs now, but we had just done the most beautiful photo shoot for our spring campaign in February in Los Angeles. And it was really beautiful. And we had a TV schedule planned, and it was starting in March. And we looked at it and we were like, this feels so tone deaf. Like we can't do that. And so, and look, we're very fortunate that we can, our members are, all raising their hand wanting to be in advertising.
Yep.
So we went to them and we said, like, what's the message that you feel right now is the most important? And what's interesting is, and I've never done this in my entire career, but for a 6-week flight of TV, we created 3 different ads because, we would do sort of a check-in every day in terms of where consumer sentiment was. And it was changing. It's like dog years. 1 week was like 7 years, and it just was changing so quickly. And we felt it was really important that we stay really in touch with how people are feeling. So it was an incredible experience. And what I will say is, I just think staying relevant in culture, understanding where the conversation is, consumers pick up on that, and it felt really real and authentic to them.
We only have 20 minutes today, so thank you so much for joining us, everybody, and thanks again to Gail.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.